Hi, it's Ricky from Mind That Ego, and here are 10 habits that will help you love yourself a little more. These are exercises that I use and I find highly rewarding, and I hope that you will too. Accept that self love isn't selfish. It's far from it. In the West, we are told that it's narcissistic to love ourselves, and it seems as quite a derogatory term if someone loves himself. But actually, by loving ourselves and showing ourselves compassion, we have more to offer others. Now, being self critical seems like it keeps you grounded or it keeps you in line, so to speak, but actually, it just causes stress and anxiety. If we can love ourselves, we're more capable of then loving others, and therefore, it's actually quite selfless. Self compassion is at the core of spirituality, but science is starting to uncover that self criticism really isn't serving and that self compassion is the way to go. It's proven that if you are overly self critical, it only increases anxiety and increases stress, whereas self compassion can actively reduce both of those. So it's always a good idea to exercise self compassion over self criticism. There are two exercises to help with this step. The first is to start talking to yourself as you would talk to a close friend, and that means being a lot more loving, a lot more compassionate, and a lot more supportive. You can even take this a step further and write things down in third person. If there are any problems that you have, or maybe inner dialogues that you repeat to yourself, write them down, take yourself out of the situation, be more objective, and then reframe it in a way that you would if it was someone that you love dearly. Now, this helps you get used to exercising the compassion you have for others for yourself. Meditation and mindfulness can also allow you to take a step back from your thoughts. And when you get caught in a spiral of self criticism, it will allow you not to identify so strongly with that. If you think about it, to be self critical, you have to have some idea or some expectation of how you should be because you're comparing yourself to that. Now, a lot of us feel that we have to be perfect in some ways. I know I've definitely felt that way over the years, but all that does is create stress and anxiety. We can feel this emotionally in the sense that we feel we always need to be happy or putting on, a brave face. We feel that we can't fully express sadness, or if we feel nervous or anxious, we're afraid that others will detect that and that it's not a way that we should feel. So part of this step is to lower your expectations of your own behavior and emotions and to accept yourself with all your imperfections included. We don't expect others to necessarily be perfect, so let's not expect ourselves to be perfect too. But one thing to remember is that it's important not to be neglectful. We still need to hold ourselves accountable, and being self compassionate doesn't mean we just give ourselves, the room to do whatever we like. We still have to have an element of discipline there for it to really benefit us. There are two parts to this step, and the first is that if you begin to exercise self compassion, you'll start to realize that a lot of the things you perceive to be mistakes aren't really mistakes at all. They're just part of being human. So it will reduce the amount of regret that you have generally. But if you really do something that you do regret and you feel this was an action that you shouldn't have done, don't dwell on it. Regret is a wasted emotion. It's not going to really serve you. Instead, analyze what you did at that time. Give yourself a healthy dose of self-compassion and just analyze and learn rather than feel bad. Comparison is the death of joy, at least according to Mark Twain, but I think he's onto something. When we compare to others, we're doing ourselves an immense disservice. Everyone has their own strengths and their own weaknesses, but if we're looking at someone else and we're comparing ourselves negatively and essentially not feeling good enough compared to them, we're taking something away from the person that we are and the value that we have. Acknowledging the oneness of the human condition works wonders for eroding the barriers that can build up when we don't feel that good about ourselves. When we self-hate or even just don't accept ourselves as we are, we create a sense of separation from everyone else around us. But the more we exercise self-compassion, we begin to pick up on the traits and the struggles and the emotions and the joy and the pain and everything that is part of being human in everyone around us. And that actually helps our sense of connection with the people in our lives. If by this point you're thinking that maybe this is something that is not possible for you, that you love others but you'll never really be able to love yourself, it's important to acknowledge that the love that you do feel for others is coming from you. When you experience that, that is a source within you. You're cultivating that emotion. Now, because you're capable of doing that, you're also capable of turning that on yourself. In Buddhism, the metta bhavana is an exercise that uses this principle. Also known as the loving kindness meditation, it starts off by cultivating a sense of compassion and love for yourself. You then move on to a close friend, to someone you feel indifferently towards, and then to someone you dislike. Now, the idea behind this is that you begin to acknowledge that the love you experience all comes from the same source, regardless of where you project that. And it also allows you to turn the love that you feel for others onto yourself. So the final step is to acknowledge that this is a lifelong process. It's going to take time, and don't turn it into something else to kind of beat yourself with. If you feel that, I'm not loving myself enough, that's defeating the whole object. Remember to have a lot of self-compassion at every stage, and to give yourself time to really work on this. Ultimately, you are the one person that you're going to spend your entire life with. In fact, every moment of your life is going to be spent with you, so you may as well learn to enjoy the company. So that's all for now, but thanks so much for watching, and I hope that there's been some value from this video. If you did like it, then please share and like on Facebook, and tell your friends and spread the message and all that stuff. But for now, I'm off, and I'll see you soon.